Hi, I'm Tommy, and we're getting ready for Japan. My last video, I got a little interrupted at one point. For a little while, I got a bit distracted, and I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm not going to name any names other than Riley's name, but I got a little distracted, and there was a really important thing that I left out when I was talking on that one. And that is actually how we're planning to get around Japan while we're there. The few things we're planning on doing, we're planning on going all over Tokyo. We're planning on visiting Hakone, also a theme park around Nagoya, and also going to Nara and Kyoto. So we're planning on doing all that, and one thing we're not planning on doing is renting a car. So we're planning on going all over Japan, and what we're going to use while we're there is actually going to be public transportation. In order to use public transportation, there's a few ways you can do that. One way is to kind of just pay per ride. You can get like a prepaid card and use that on different trains. A good thing about that prepaid card is in addition to using it on like the trains and the subways, you can also use it to make purchases at the train station and also at some convenience stores and vending machines. And though there's also specialized passes they can use as well. The main one we're going to use while we're there is called the JR Pass. Again, that's JR Pass. JR is Japan Rail. I think a lot of people would call it the JR Rail Pass, but of course the R is rail, and saying rail would be redundant. And I wouldn't do something silly like that. So the JR Rail, I said that wrong. It was what's called the JR Rail. But that JR Pass actually is good for trains all over Japan, including the bullet trains that I'm really excited about riding on while we're there. There's kind of a whole culture about the bullet trains there that I'm really excited about. You can actually get special meals that are made just for riding on bullet trains. There are special bento boxes called ebiken. And there's all kinds of there's some that kind of have specialized food in them, but also some that just have like a special box. Some of them even shaped like an actual bullet train. So if you don't think that we're gonna leave Japan with at least one bullet train shaped bento box, well, you don't know us very well. Another special pass we're planning on using while we're there is actually specifically for Hakone. It's called the Hakone Free Pass. And that is a pass that actually covers a few different types of transportation in the Hakone area itself. It's like sort of regular transportation that you'd expect, like things like trains and buses, but also much more interesting things, including cable cars, the Hakone Ropeway, or you might know it better as like a skyway. And there's also a pirate ship by one of the lakes there that actually has great views of Mount Fuji. That's right, you can see Mount Fuji from a pirate ship. And those are all things that Mount Fuji and a pirate ship. But yeah, those are all different forms of transportation that can be used around Hakone using the Hakone Free Pass. So that's what we're mainly going to do, is using that JR Pass and also the Hakone Free Pass just while we're in Hakone. Japan has a great transportation system, and we're really planning on taking advantage of that while we're there. Something that Riley and I really share is kind of a fascination with different forms of transportation. When I was little, I grew up like near train tracks, and so I was always been interested in trains. Whenever we would go into the big city, we would take the train to get there, my best friend lived on the other side of the train tracks, and I was always a little confused about which of us lived on the wrong side of the tracks, and both sides seemed perfectly nice. But Riley loves all the different forms of transportation, especially living here in Central Florida, and going to Walt Disney World, where they have so many cool forms of transportation to use, like the Skyway, the monorail, all the different forms of transportation, all the boats and stuff. I'm really looking forward to continuing the journey there, using the different forms of transportation. Again, for me personally and for Riley as well. I love the monorails here, and recently they've had some really cool enhancements to them. But I still think that the monorails that they have at Tokyo Disneyland are really the coolest ones. So I'm really looking forward to being able to ride on those. and really to all the different forms of transportation. I mean, in Japan, they actually have monorails that are just like there as a form of transportation, not part of like a theme park or part of a resort, but monorails that are actually part of their transportation system. So I am trying to keep this video a little briefer than the other ones. I think some of them have gotten kind of long, so I want to have a few shorter ones like this as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know how I'm doing. If you have any suggestions, of course, again, please let me know. If you like having shorter videos like this, if you prefer the longer ones, let me know more about that as well. Click like on the video if you enjoyed it, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, because I have a lot of fun things planned for the future with me, with Riley, with my wife, and possibly those evil cats who I hope aren't lurking anywhere in here. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon. And remember, the trip is still a while off, but the journey is already begun, and I'm glad that I have you along with us. Thank you.